Hello, welcome to the Banana Island Films channel. Today we have a very special guest who's already been on before us. If you've been paying attention, today we have Yatri Sol. She is a cosmic therapist and a really old friend who we met in the jungle in the Amazon in Ecuador when we were both being Jehovah's Witnesses. How you doing, Yatri?
So good, Scott. It feels so great to be here with you so many years later.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. So yeah, Jen and I met at like a beach party where I had infiltrated the Jehovah's Witness surf community, and she was there for a party. And then later we had to find you in the jungle because no one had heard from you for like 2 months or something. But
And
now we like hang out like once a year kind of thing. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Update living in Sedona, and it feels really good to, after having just needed to get my exploration on and having explored, and the exploration never seems like it ends. But there was a lot of like recovery energy over the past several years in that exploration, and just really needing to take some time and recover psychically and mentally and spiritually and even physically. And it feels really good to be at a place where that's not the focus right now.
Yeah. So you landed there. You're gonna stay a while, and we have a lot of talk about travel coming up in this about your next venture. But what's going on in Sedona?
Yeah. So here's, it's been a lot of focus on material manifestation, working on expanding and building my business, Yatri Sol Tribe, into something that is, well, first of all, it is sustainable. It's a sustainable clothing line, and it's jewelry and art. And so I'm selling all of that in Sedona. And of course, Sedona is a great hub for for the spiritual aspects. So being able to offer yoga trainings and retreats, and people come here looking for similar. It's interesting. It's like similar to people that are Jehovah's Witnesses that are in spiritual recovery. There's a lot of people that are in spiritual recovery from all kinds of walks of life that are coming to Sedona to look for that healing. So being there feels like I get to participate and be available to the masses that are coming there specifically looking for that and for awakening their consciousness wherever level they're at. And so just being able to offer tarot and mediumship and just like healing services, shamanic Reiki and whatnot, it's really nice to just to do that. I do that at the booth. I have I tell people about that when it feels right, and then I have spaces that I can give them those sessions or just do it online. So that's working
What's
out.
what's the booth? A booth where?
the The booth is at the art show. It's like the main art shows in Sedona.
Okay.
A couple stores as well.
So yeah, I don't know if I think I never cut the shots that we did of you in your van, but
It's
so
the
if you
upgraded.
watch, oh yeah, you upgraded the van. So in the last episode where I interviewed, uh, I used to call you Genevieve. So Yatri Sol, formerly known as Genevieve,
Yes,
Genevieve.
got to live for 10
Uh,
years in a foreign country and come back with a new name.
yeah.
Name.
But living out of a van on tour with like spiritual music festivals, I guess. Could I call them that? What would you call them that?
I would say
What
that.
would you call
Yeah. Conscious.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Conscious.
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 Conscious community.
Conscious community.
Yeah. And it's been interesting because you did some tarot with me, and I don't do that very often, but I think you're incredibly good at it. And it's not often I have people on like this show that aren't like straight up atheists or um, somewhere in the agnostic camp or something. Um, but just for anyone listening, if you think that all that stuff is woo, there is something to it, and Yatri Soul's a great like touch point for that kind of stuff. Um,
I,
so maybe we can get into that.
I would love to get into that. And yeah, I think that especially for people, and I've gone to the whole pendulum swing of not believing in any of it and then scared of it. And then just, a lot of it as well. It's coming from my background. Was not anything that I believed in. In fact,
Oh yeah,
you
it
know,
was demon possession
it was
territory.
demon possession. It was like, and then it was, and then there was so much. Yeah, exactly. And then, I also was never taught to like trust in order to access and channel. This, by the way, is stuff that we all can do. I just have chosen to develop that. And that's been my, I guess that's been my obsession, passion, and path of study choice for a very long time now. And that's because this is where I found the most healing in my journey, and my, of like, and everybody seeks healing where they need to seek healing. Religion is a form of seeking healing and solace. And so is atheism, I think, and, the forms that we adopt to feel like we can function in the world. And anyway, what I want to offer is that we don't have to be dogmatic. And that's like the number one thing that is, I think, and we're already going on a tangent, Scott, but I just want to say that.
Dive in.
It's when we get dogmatic and we start limiting ourselves, and I even get dogmatic, about things sometimes still. And that's one of the things that I've been curbing myself of. And that's been where I'm at in my own recovery and in my own growth cycle of consciousness. Is the more conscious that we become, the less dogmatic we need to be, and the more open we get to be. And the more joy we let in, and the more experiences we let in, and sometimes the more healing we let in, and also more human capacity. And that's like where I want to take this conversation a little bit regarding like psychic development and spiritual skills, I guess, are we're all capable of that. And we're actually all, like, the body and the mind is capable of this, and we are not trained to do this. The ancient human beings were, and in my opinion, and civilization was doing a lot more of that. And it's really as simple as meditating and getting quiet enough so that you can start to hear yourself and get to know yourself. And a lot of these things like astrology, I offer astrology charts, and I developed that because it was something that I did when I was seeking and was blown away by how orientating that was. And so I offer that, and Reiki, just energetic healing, and psychic work now, and mediumship. It's all of that it's just a way to use your body as a channel, and not a channel for like spirits. And I don't necessarily do that. It's just a channel for the collective consciousness. It's a channel for the all of everything to come through. It could be a channel for what people call God. It could be a channel for what people call a lot of things, but I'm not calling it God. I don't even think that that's, and I just don't, that's not what I'm doing. When I'm doing it, I'm channeling myself, and I'm just tapping in to you, and I'm tapping in just like we can tap into each other. That's like what I really want to say. Oh, I'm getting really excited because that's it. It's like we can tap into each other, and that's the issue right now, is we're not tapping into each other. And when you're religious, you're allowing, or you are a lot of things, like, not you are, but like, if you lean into the government's going to fix it, then the government's going to fix it, and you're not going to do much about it. If you lean into God's going to fix it, then God's going to fix it, and if we're taught that we don't have these powers, somebody else has to heal us, then we're not going to heal ourselves. But we have the capacity to do way more than we have thought. And the lid on this is about to blow up. We're all about to find out. Like, that's in the astrology. We're all about to find out how powerful we are as human beings, and how much we've been capped and lied to.
I would love to hear more about this prophetic thing. But
Yeah.
I think you're already diving into something we talked to stuff the show about what you're trying to build. Can you, since we're kind of early in the video, it's nice to kind of we're already 9 minutes in, talk about the thing you think is needed in the communities that you want to serve with your abilities, and what kind of spaces you want to create. But like, first of all, like, what's the need, do you think?
I see a direct need for more community interaction, more conscious community in itself. I mean, it's really great to go to these conscious community festivals, for example, and I recommend that if anyone has been to one, to go to one. You can even just Google what they are. I'll be doing workshops at them regarding religious recovery and etc. yoga, and also participating in like musical projects and dance. But I think that what we need is to have that specifically for people that are in religious recovery, and that are in, I guess, like, specifically religious recovery. And that's something that I'm passionate about now that I'm in a space where I can be of greater service. I feel like I can be of greater service in that field. And I'd like to create a space where I'd like to create spaces. I mean, if you really want to hear my vision, I want to create
Let's
spaces.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Various spaces. I mean, at least 3. That's not, I mean, I would love to have, if I could have my way, I would have various international spaces where they're communities where people can come together, and that wherever you are, you know, there's a network. And if you have are in religious recovery, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, and isolated, you can go and be with like-minded people and be safe and not have to deal with dogma. But also there is a center, and that center, the retreat center, would be there for educational programs to be running consistently, so that when one comes up, and they would be in different subjects and themes. So let's just say that we start with one of these, you know, and maybe work up to 3 at different locations around the globe. One in the United States, and maybe one in like Central America to start, for people that want to come to that, and that can have that recovery, they can run those spiritual programs. So like yoga teacher trainings, or yoga retreats, for example, something a little lighter. Yoga has been an incredible thing. It was also demonized in the church. It was literally demonized. I was a
I have a
pioneer.
story about that. I would love to share about demons and yoga, but go on.
Yeah, I do too. I remember my father being like, you know, you can't. I was a pioneer, and he's like, I know you can't. You know, you can't go to yoga. I was just going to yoga. I remember I discovered yoga for the first time at 25 years old, and it was like almost discovering sex. It was like, what is this? And why are we repressing? Why is this like, I would rather do this for an hour a week than whatever we're doing. Like, no, this is what
Peddling bad ideas about like how immortal you are, but you don't get to find out until you're dead. Like,
yes. So yeah,
wait, what?
yoga is demonic, and you know, and I get it, and I've studied and to understand why they all go there, but it's actually not. It's just a way to access it's literally meditation, yoga are like really hands-on embodied ways to access your fullest human capacity, like release trauma that's stored in your body, and open up to presence here now, which is where it all begins. So
Yeah. I mean, so for anyone, if you never have done it, it sounds like stretching, and it is, and it's the best like full body like workout without it feeling difficult. And then the breathing that goes with that, the flow you can get in these situations, or just the focus on the breath. How I understand it now, after you doing yoga like a bit for like the last decade, is that it's all about preparing the body to be in a meditative state, or so you can meditate properly. So you're not like anxious or have like sore muscles or whatever. You get in that position, you prepare basically for an hour, so you then can sit for longer and like really be aware and conscious.
yeah,
And it's incredible. I've had like emotional stuff happen. I've had like visions, like visual stuff happen. Not that you're looking for that, but like yoga is like the starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful starting point. It's a wonderful starting point, and it's super safe.
Yeah.
And it's actually super essential. If there was like a couple essentials to keep us, I think that's one of them. And just stilling your mind, because we're as a civilization, we're like constantly we're in stimulation and aversion, and we're like attraction, aversion. What I'm like going after what I'm attracted to, and I'm like avoiding the things that I have aversion to, and that's exhausting. So
Yeah.
and just learn to be in more of an observation instead of a reactive state all the time, then we have a lot more power over our mind, and then we have power over life. A lot less susceptible to people kind of telling us what we want to do, or even being in an addictive sort of behavioral patterns, like addicted to money, addicted to substances. You know, it's just that's so.
On that note, there's so many parts of society that are addictive, and there's this psychologist I think I've been seeing online, and the thing is like drugs. People think of drug addicts are, you know, drugs are the problem. Like we need to ban the drugs, and his whole thing is like drugs are the solution actually, because there's a problem, and so people are trying to numb out or like disconnect using chemicals. But we can do that with other things too. We can do that with money. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
comfort.
Mhm.
There's so many kinds of addiction. It's not just drug use. That's a problem. So like, what is the underlying problem? And I feel like you're onto like the real thing, which is we are conscious beings, and we can work on ourselves. We don't need to look outside for solutions. We can look internally. Your thoughts are actually a big part of the problem. To like figure out what they are. Who are those? You? Is that you? There's a lot to say.
There is a lot.
Go ahead.
That's why we need to have repeat. In my opinion, it would be nice to have a center where even if people aren't necessarily, they could come and stay for a time. I'd like to have even living accommodations for people to come and live there, and then also to have a recovery space there, and to have different offerings. And one of those things, actually, I was going to say, I think I'm really a fan of teaching first and foremost, and most people are the most comfortable with. I mean, when I say teaching, I really just mean sharing, and bringing
Like
in
facilitating, creating
facility
the
there.
space and the environment that's correct for the
Yes,
thing.
and bringing in professionals to teach the things that I have found to be extremely powerful um, in recovery, and then not just recovery, but beyond recovery. What you get to do when you're not in recovery anymore is just expansion and psychic expansion and growth and human beingness. You get to really just discover what who you really are and what you're here to do and what you're capable of. So I want to sponsor that, and this would be for people of all levels in their process of recovery, and also their process of like for people that are already advanced in their path that maybe don't even. That's what I want. And then the other thing is about, you had mentioned drugs, and it's funny how like in externalizing things, I have had to have a lot of compassion for and learn a lot of compassion because of just my family background, and even peers that I've had that have dealt with substance abuse. And I understand that a lot of people that are doing that are looking, like you said, they're looking for something. They're looking to numb out a lot of pain, or they know something's wrong in general. And this is for all people, all beings. Something's off and wrong, and they're trying to, their body is rebelling against it. And I think that there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. I think that there are healthier ways to go about self-development and waking up. And I think we're all actually trying to wake up. Not everybody's trying to wake up. That's obvious with this last election. Like half of us are like very happy staying in a box and staying asleep.
Oh man, the cultiness and the control and there's so many basic things that I feel like you and I, but like probably everyone who's paying attention, clicked on this video, are experts at is understanding manipulation, control, posturing, the narcissistic tactics used by our fearless former leader. Just like, and I'm talking about the president, not the cult leader. Just like seeing all that stuff roll out in public has been, and people are like reacting in this way. And it's like, yeah, talk to the experts who successfully navigated cult mind control tactics. We can see this stuff years in advance. You guys are just interacting with it for the first time. Like there are people out there that know what's going on. And not that I'm saying like we are like political geniuses or anything, just seeing the same dynamics play out everywhere in society. It's like, no, don't do that.
Oh, it's so wild. And that's why I'm like, okay, obviously we have work to do. And obviously, I think that if things had gone differently, I'd be like, oh, I can just relax and breathe. And like somebody gets it. Like there's, we have maybe a conscious person who has things, has some clarity on some things and is going to lead us with clarity and awareness. And that isn't the case. So what that means is like, I'm like, that's one of the reasons I'm like really motivated to be here, Scott, and just speak up and do this, because there needs, obviously we need to be, I feel really inspired to be more vocal. And I feel really inspired to awaken people to the parts of the way that things have been done in the past, the fear control leadership that this has been going on. The slavery owner mentality has been going on and is favored by leaders, dark leaders, and exists. And it goes way, 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 way back. And if you start doing your, you can find out about that. And I don't think Getting a tangent, but reach out if you want to talk.
Well, yeah, Yatri Sol's available. Go to yatrisol.com. You can reach out to her. So one thing I wanted to mention about your idea for a retreat center, one or more of them, is that I made a movie because I was having problems myself. And I was like, I think the solution is to make a movie about it. And I found out that most people aren't taking that step. But in that, I was like, oh, this is the thing I have shot and edited. Every time I watch it makes me emotional. I'm triggered by my own creation in a way that I was like, I need to probably hire a professional because making a movie about it isn't helping. Making a movie is like awakening this like old thing. And it was really hard to do. So I went to the Secular Therapy Project, seculartherapy.org, and that's under the Recovering from Religion project. Recoveringfromreligion.com is where I like that really helped me. There's so many resources there, but it's not framed in a religious context. And it's like, it's not necessarily atheist or agnostic. It's just religions are a problem. And here are why each one is a problem. Here's the real system behind it all. And here is where you can actually get help from a professional who's specialized in that. And so I got this awesome, incredible therapist. And then I realized that the therapy system has a problem in that I want to solve the problem. I want to go in, observe the problem, understand it, have like techniques and professional ideas on like what to do next, and then go do it immediately. And you can't do that in an hour on a Monday before a work meeting. And then I was like, so many times I'm like emotionally like charged, wrecked, whatever, how you want to say that. And then I have to go to work and have like a normal life immediately after that and wait a week before I get to talk to someone who can help me deal with the thing. And so I did that for a while. And I was like, you know what I would love to have is a place I can just go for a month or a week or whatever and just like go dive deep in and like fix the thing, observe the thing, deal with the thing, be emotional about the thing in a place where it's catered to that. And I feel like what you're talking about, well, maybe you can respond like, does that resonate with your idea?
100%. And it's also what, I mean, I don't know about you. I think you less than me because I felt like you were so much, you stayed in community while you processed it and you did all this activism work. I did not. And I isolated hard and felt like I had to do everything alone and didn't trust anyone. And it was actually really dangerous and it's really unhealthy. And I want to create safe spaces where people, and I've seen time and time again, people do that way and end up in really negative spaces. And it doesn't need to be that way. You know, we can be a lighthouse for people so that it doesn't have to look like that. And then for people like yourself that want to come and just like be like, how much more fun would it be to do it in in a support system and group where you can explore things and explore this in any way that feels aligned to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Like total sabbatical. Like, oh, you just went through like a really big rug pull where your entire life's upside down and you're not quite sure what's real and what's not real and who you can trust and who you can't trust. You don't know where you fit in society or what the point of life is. And you're like dabbling in atheism or nihilism. And like, it's difficult. Like, get out. Get out and go to a place where people are there to help you. It'd be awesome to have that.
Yeah. And there is people that don't have that. I've seen people go to really dark places and it's really unnecessary. Get into the wrong crowds, end up on drugs or on the street or, and really, really poor abusive relationship dynamics because they are used to being in an abusive relationship with the world, and fear control. So it's like there really needs to be there. It can be so much easier and it can be so much faster. And another thing is I want to have a safe space for people to do plant medicines. That's another thing that won't, of course, none of this would be required, but just I think that plant medicines are an incredible way to awaken and restore, and that can be for people like yourself that have explored a lot of other ways, but it's like maybe you want to or tarot or whatever, or getting an astrology reading or a shamanic Reiki session, and just like maybe that's really out of the comfort zone, but creating a very safe, very professional environment where there's not only, for example, a plant medicine ceremony, but there will be a lot of pre-work. Like, let's say you came to the center for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and we did 1, 2, or 3 plant medicine ceremonies, and there was like a lot of pre-work, integration during, and integration after.
Yeah, like aftercare is important. If you haven't ever gotten that, it's a thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a part of the vision.
Cool. So just a break. So we don't get this very often because I don't always go live, but there's two people, there's a bunch of people watching, but two of them are commenting. And one says, Yatri, I love your energy. I understand what you're saying about astrology and the other things, etc. So happy to hear that you can be you with no control. Nothing can stop you being you. So much love from New Zealand.
Thank you.
Got San Diego Pimo. He mentioned we met up recently in person at another YouTuber who just got out of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Steph Got Out is the name of her channel. So we met there in person. So he's incognito because he's still physically in, so he's still playing the game. But he's like, you never know who you're going to see again, and like the people you meet after. And then I was just describing my thing, and Lisa is saying that she resonates with what I was saying. And then that we really have a hole left when you wake up, and it's hard to fill that hole.
Yes.
Can you speak to that and maybe like your journey? Because like for most people, they're going to say like, who is this woman and why should I go to her retreat center? Or like, what did you learn from these different modalities or things that you're doing? OJ's here too.
Yeah. Well, we have to build one first. So I'm open to suggestions and I'm open to support in that in any way, shape, or form. However, why and what? So yeah, my journey, I left, it was really scary for me. I was a regular pioneer and I was really involved, and I had a lot of, I guess, followers in the sense because my dad was like way up the line in the hierarchy, elder, pioneer, missionary. I was a missionary for a long period.
Jen had 22 Bible studies at 19 years old in the jungle.
Really ambitious.
On a dirt path.
I was really ambitious, man. I'm not like proud of that now, because no, what I was even. It's okay. It was good. I was also just people to read and write, translating the Bible, and it was good for me, I guess. But
I was like, I'm optimizing for high amount of surf time per week, and I'm doing the bare minimum preaching. And I met you, and you're like, I'm optimizing for the most Bible studies because for whatever your reasons were, but like that's what looks good. That's how you win.
That's how you win.
She was playing a different game.
I was playing a different game, but like, how spiritual can you be? And anyways, I don't know. But that's where I was at, and so to go from that, and then
you're maximally spiritual now. Turns out.
Yeah, at the time, it was like I was like, I felt like I had reached the highest level as a single woman in the hierarchy, and I remember at one point.
No, you did not marry a ministerial servant or an elder. You missed out.
I was trying to. And that was
you're well postured to get hitched.
I was, and then I was like, so that's it. So like that's the next level up. I could become a special pioneer, like married to an elder missionary. Like that was like the next thing for me to do. I felt like I could like give my soul away for millions of hours of service and get paid minimally to do that, or I could marry someone and do that together.
And then the ultimate is have a boy and raise them to be a proper Jehovah's Witness. So like a 20-year game. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Then you've maxed out as a woman.
Didn't appeal at all. None of that appealed at all. Marriage didn't really feel right. I was like, wait, so I have to like wait until I get married to like see if we really jive. Like none of that. I was like, and then I'm stuck forever. Like none of that. It just didn't add up to me. Marriage didn't add up to me. Anyway, I did try dating a couple elders, and the funny part is it was obviously along my path. I dated an elder who was a young elder, and he turned apostate. He like left the organization, left being an elder, and like I was dating him at the time, and I was like so horrified, but I was also like so mystified and like so like what is happening right now, and that was a part of the process. Yeah. So I actually stopped pioneering to just kind of like go on this soul journey because that affected me so much that I was like trying to do the thing, date the elder, and then he like turns apostate and he moved to Alaska.
It says something that you and I met each other and hung out more than like anyone else in Ecuador for that half a year that I was there, because we were hanging out, just the two of us, watching the Dune series, the mini series, and listening to like operatic like metal that you were into. And you had actual like artistic style and a personality on top of doing all the Jehovah's Witness stuff. You were like a real human being. And I think that shocks people because they don't get to express themselves, but you were already doing it when you were 20.
Yeah, it
Somehow.
was. And now it's like, and it's like, that's a beautiful part of being human. And I don't really like being repressed in any way, shape, or form by anyone when it comes to, and I don't think anyone should. I don't think that we should accept that we should. And, like that's that fear control. Like, I don't think that we should allow the government to tell us what we should do with our bodies. And I don't think we should let, I don't think we should let anybody, So anyway, back then, I think that was coming through. But
Yeah. So what happened after you got out? I would love to get into the whole story, but just because you're like, we're talking about the journey you want to take other people on, but like, what have you figured out because it's been like 15 years for you, right? Maybe 12 years since you've been out.
Let's see, I'm 30, I'm turning 37, and I was 25. I bought it. So I dated the elder.
12 years.
So yeah, so I dated the elder at 25, and I was trying to do the thing, and it was like, I'm either really in and I'm going to marry this guy and we're going to do this whole missionary thing, or
sounds really funny to call it. I can't wait to do missionary with that guy.
I wanted to travel and I wanted to be of service, and I just thought that was the right thing to do. But I had already had some doubts, so I went to India. I do want to say, like, it wasn't just dating the elder and then him. It was like that. There's so many things. There was that happened. I went to India and I had this really big awakening. I was like, so you're telling me like all of these people that I feel like have a true spiritual connection, maybe not a material connection to the world, and like maybe they're not religious. And I went and met the Jehovah's Witnesses in India and like did not feel like they were very spiritually connected, but I felt like everyone else was. I'm like, so everybody else is going to die and you all are going to live and you all got it right. And they were kind of like pompous and like the only overweight humans in the country, I felt like, and like not very like welcoming. And I'm like, what is this? That's so weird. I was trying to be a missionary in India. Anyway, and then I was like,
I felt similar things. Sorry to pause. I felt really similar things about my experience in Ecuador. And it was actually the thing that really shocked me out of the religion, because I was like, I'm going to go abroad because I want an adventure and do the missionary thing, kind of, but in my own weird way. But I was like, kind of already like, I had unwound a lot of the dogma. But the attitude of the witnesses who were abroad is supposed to be the best of the witnesses, right? And they're maybe a little more interesting because they traveled and they've made a way to live abroad, but they were kind of jerks and like demeaning, like it was like an imperialist attitude, a colonial attitude towards the locals. Like they're better than everybody.
That's how we're taught to be. We think that we're better than the rest of the world. Like, I mean, that's just how we were taught. If you're raised as a Jehovah's Witness, you're taught that you're better than everybody else because you're going to live and everyone else is going to die. And it's your job to inform them of the things that you know and they don't know, and pour them, pity their souls. Like, we need to save them. So there's already that attitude of like this mirror of separation, just the separation. And there is no separation. Like, when you start really learning, there's no separation. In fact, we're all one. Racism, war, religion, all of that is all separation. Is all trying to keep us separate when we're all one. Astrology tells you you're all one. Reiki tells you we're all connected. And that's the number one problem, is we don't even know how to be connected to nature. And so we're living separately and like extracting from nature instead of living harmoniously with nature. We don't know how, and we need to learn. And that's the number one thing we need to know right now as a race, is that we are one. So we stop trying to and then we're all immigrants in this country, by the way. We're all fucking immigrants, in this country. So maybe we should stop acting like we're not, if anybody is confused, like, we're all immigrants. We all came here and immigrated into this country. So, we're all immigrants into this planet, but we're at the same time, we all belong here. We all belong here. We are all one. And that's the issue, is that the level of separation energy is that's in the service of dogmatic leadership, not freedom. Not collective freedom, which is what we can have, but we need to kind of grow and learn and heal and wake up. So
I derailed you talking about your healing modalities, the things that you've learned on your journey. Can you take us through the path of getting out, and then Brazil?
And then how Brazil on the beach. So I bought a one-way ticket after India. I just did some traveling. Traveling is really good if you're confused. I feel like not extensive.
Yes.
are.
Change your physical location. It could be the next town, the next county, the next state, the next country, but like the other side of the planet is also good, right?
Yeah. And in my case, that's what like changing your community, changing your friend group. That puts a lot of psychic and subconscious pressure on you to stay the same. It's and then the reaction of the people. So I really needed space. My dad was very. It was very clear. I grew up every day hearing from him. That he would support me as long as I was a good Jehovah's Witness girl, and that he was proud of me. But if I wasn't, if he had to choose, it would be like his God over me, which is exactly what happened. But I was very close to my father, and also very involved in the religion and the organization, and my community. My only friends and family were all of that. And so I just needed some space, and I really had some big questions that were coming up after India and after this relationship with the elder. So, and after you, like you were leaving, I was arguing with you. I was arguing with, myself, and I was arguing with my partner, I guess at the time that I was like considering marriage to, and like just like it was just I was like, okay, like I need space from y'all. And my father, because I started doing yoga and rock climbing, and all of that was forbidden, and salsa dancing, and just getting into my body, and that's like another huge thing to awaken to yourself instead of everyone else who they want you to be in your own body. So I went to Brazil. I bought a one-way ticket, and I was like, well, maybe I'll come back in 6 months. And I didn't. I just went to Brazil. I bought a one-way ticket, and I was there for 7 years. Never came home. And out there in the world, and I think I was just, I just wanted to have an organic experience of unprogramming myself. There's probably easy ways to do it. And what I found, I just looked for support, and I looked for systems, and I looked for people energetically that I felt drawn to, and then I would explore with them. And a lot of them ended up being like teachers or healers for me and mentors. And that was in that process over those 7 years, I did things to heal myself. Like I'd be like kind of scared, but I'd be like, okay, let's do my astrology reading. And so I would do my astrology chart, and I was like, what? How do you know that about me? Like the astrologer was like, oh yeah, like you're coming. She had no idea who I was, and like just told me all about my religious upbringing and past, and deep pain from breaking up with my father. Anyways, there's just like a whole thing, and I was like, how do you even know that about me? It's in my chart. It's probably in your chart too. It's out there. You can read it, you can see it, and you can also see what your purpose is, and you can see what makes life easier and what the healing and the point of it all can be. So that was really healing, and I started studying astrology really deeply and became a certified astrologer. Same thing with Reiki. I tried it a little bit scared, and then it was like an incredible experience for me. And shamanism and medicines. I started doing ayahuasca. I was invited to do it before it was like this interesting, cool thing to do in America. It was really fun to come back here, and I was like, wait, what? Like I was like doing it out in the jungle, it's like super OG, and it was great. And it changed my life, and I really woke up, and some other medicines and plant medicines, and I was became on the path and became an artist and sold my jewelry on the beach to survive and just to thrive, and continue to invest all my time and energy and money and living on the beach in Brazil, and traveling around and studying with different mentors and medicine people. And the ones that I really felt like were important, I developed as a skill to share with others. And I always knew I had to go back to the United States, and that I would be needing to give this back in a form of service. I studied yoga. And anyway, yeah, so that happened for 7 years, and then I decided it was time to come home. And then COVID happened, and I had to stay home. So, yeah.
But home for you was like another forest on the other side in another country, in the States, right?
Yeah, it was.
And now it's like touring in your camper with the conscious festivals, doing your services.
That's true. So it's not
home for you is interesting. Interesting. It's not like a physical location.
No, it's America. And I don't have one. Like home was, I don't know. And home can be wherever you want it to be. Home can be wherever you are, and it's really inside. This whole planet's our home. We start to dissolve the separation stuff, but yes, upgraded the van, by the way, and I'm building it out now, so we can do more of that. More conscious.
So I feel like I did a similar thing to you. I was like, oh, the whole world's crazy. I have issues from this experience of losing, like changing my belief system. That was, and like getting out into the regular world. That was actually like refreshing to me. I was like, I have some learning to do, but I'm gonna do this. But I did some traveling. But then I was like, at some point, I was like, I don't want to play the game in the system. I don't want to do the career thing. It's just like I'm not ready for that. This means like the worst case scenario to have like a successful desk job. Um, I was like, there's so much more to life. I need to figure it out. So, and my solution was go to the other side of the planet, like Yoda, like to the swampy place with the worst weather, and like live in like an unknown city that for me and like most of the world doesn't pay attention to Vietnam. And so you and I did like had the same solution. I don't know if that's in our like nature or something, but with your idea for building a center, I just
Yeah.
feel like maybe not everyone's willing to do the big shake up to the life that you and I were willing to do, which is like change location, change language, change culture, learn, adapt, rest, try new things constantly. Like that doesn't sound good to a lot of people, maybe,
It's
or it
not
doesn't
for
sound possible.
everyone.
Yeah, right.
It's not
So like, how do
necessarily
you take 7 years in Brazil on the beach and selling jewelry and like learning from plant people and shamans? How do you take that and condense it into like a retreat?
well, what I have been doing is teaching people, like when I have had retreats with people in the past, it's been a lot of embodiment, so yoga practices. I like to do everyone's chart, or offer that, so that's an offering. I incorporate tarot so they get a little taste of all of these things. And one thing I'd like to add to it, start adding to this, is maybe even a microdose of plant medicine. But yeah, so just having people taking them outside of their environment instead of having them go outside and just be in this big pool of like anything is possible, which anything's possible. You could go to Brazil for 7 years and party, like, so, or somewhere else, or Vietnam or wherever, and that isn't necessarily going to bring you any closer to uh, your truth. And so just doing practices like breath work, and the things that I've just mentioned, to have people experience it in their body, and then from there they can pursue that further, but just like
I just did a breathwork session. If no one knows what that is, it's incredible what you can do just by breathing in a certain way. Like the feelings, like it's like I had this like energy fluctuation pulsing through my entire body. And then like a knowing, like an awareness that this is actually a way to like I can control it. I can move it around with my conscious thought by moving my hands in certain ways. And I was
yeah
like, man, this just feels like this is so powerful. What is this? I think I can use it to, I think it's powerful enough to change physical health or affect my own body or affect that of others. Like I was just like, all these ideas like flooding through, and then like an overwhelming sense of gratitude and like love for people. Like this, I just was breathing for 30 minutes. And what's happening? It was like a psychedelic experience laying on the floor. And
exactly. and,
we're
and
all
it,
breathing all the time. You can do that.
you can do that, and we breathe and we live, I think, Scott, at like a fraction of our capacity, right? And when you do breath work or you do yoga, you recognize that, you can see it. And I mean, what would happen if we all started living and breathing at the fullest extent, like, of our capacity, And what happens is, like you said, you had a psychedelic experience, is you start to tap into your psychic abilities. You start to awaken to you start to awaken your nervous system. You start to awaken your cells. You start to awaken your brain activity. And most of us, because of the food that we eat, our environment, our overstimulation, and our education and our backgrounds, are it's like a computer that's way overlogged and going really slow, and it's like working on a minimal function and minimal level. And breathing and doing some of these other things like plant medicine and meditation, and just, it cleans it all up, and it just like gives it all this juice of this fresh capacity, gives your body that, and your brain that, and your mind that, and then you can actually think and see and feel the world in your own. It's like it's all in there, it's all in you, it's not outside of you. But we have to awaken to it. And so, yeah, so breath work, just breathing can help us do that. And it's really awesome, and it's so available, and just takes an hour of your life to release a stored trauma too. That's the other thing, is like a lot of times the things that's keeping the program, our body programs, kind of, especially for those of us that have trauma from whatever thing in the past, it keeps your program of your body really bogged down. The trauma and the pain and the even just like the old mental ideas, the old programmings. So we have to release that from our body, and one of the big ways we do that is through movement and breath. So yeah,
If you
just
go into
now.
the ancient teachings, I actually just read a book called Breathe. Nestor, I think, is the author. I'll look it up, but it was so good. Basically, it's like so simple. They did a bunch of experiments in the book where they like the guy had his nose closed off for like 3 weeks, and like the inability to sleep well. There's so many things that just like he felt like he was suffocating. Like there's something that comes from breathing through your nose and sleeping while breathing through your nose. There's some guy did an experiment with chimps where he closed off their nose breathing, and like all the chimps died. Like some insane thing. That breathing through your nose really adds something. And then at the end he gives all these techniques from someone and the connection that they from like a profession, like a someone in the like someone from Indian culture, Hindu, I believe. I don't know what religion it is, but like someone connected to like the ancient chi, ki, prana. Like these are all breathing access to chi, and so this is like a concept that there's an energy force throughout the entire universe, and your body is made up of that stuff, and the air is too. That is like universal base energy, which sounds woo by like Western materialist science stuff, like that world that we're like swimming in.
It just seems ignorant to acknowledge that.
Yeah. But I found it so fascinating with the name of the author if someone wants to look it up. It's a very, very fascinating book. But yeah,
Cool.
James Nestor, Breathe.
I love that you're discovering breath. Like it's such a beautiful, simple, amazing thing to dive into.
Yeah.
It's such a safe thing. And so that's like what I mean by like even just having things like that are really safe for people that aren't ready to do other things. Just like, okay, how about we just lay down together and breathe for an hour in your own space and mat.
Mm-hmm.
Just do that.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you don't want to do psychedelics just yet. You don't want to try magic mushrooms just yet. Like we don't have to microdose. We can start with breath, and then tomorrow we'll microdose.
That's an idea. Actually, I'd like to do it at more time and space, and like even like a week-long retreat. It feels like or a day with someone is just not quite enough. But if I did have a week, I think it'd be really cool. To really, it's like weekend retreats. So in a week, you could do that. You could start out with just breath work, and then have options to expanding there.
Yeah, and you can do this like literally anywhere you are in the world, and there are actually people that do probably YouTube breathwork things. Like you could just do it, but it's cool to like if you want care, you want to talk through it, you want someone to guide you.
Music is
and
nice.
Especially anything beyond breath, that you should probably do that with. You need to do that with people you trust, and like in a space that's properly like set up for it. Like,
yeah, and I just
using mushrooms was really helpful to me personally. But I didn't do it in a controlled setting, but I had good friends. Go ahead.
If anybody wants to do this sort of stuff and it's like at a far distance from me, that's one of the services that I do offer, is just like holding a space. And I want to offer is like holding a space for while someone is doing, not just energetically and psychically, but also like physically, like being able to just like be like, okay, I'm going to do mushrooms on myself in my house. Like this is how much I'm doing. This is safe. And just being like, hey, I'm having a bad experience now, or I'm having this experience. Like, can you just be available on the phone? Like, that's something that I want to or be available for. And so, that's something that I can also say. I think that in person is so much better, but if I am working with someone, that's something we can do.
Yeah. It's highly valuable. There's people in the audience here. What's interesting who's shown up, they're like, just get out of the religion or still actively in the religion. And another person, I think, has a channel or he works behind the scenes on one. But yeah, it's been interesting to see their comments because they're kind of like going through this stuff right now that you and I like escaped from for a decade, and then we like started dealing with it on a more serious level. Um, what kind of blew my mind was Decult, because I'm still in New Zealand. They brought me out here to screen Witness Underground. So if you haven't watched it yet, witnessunderground.com. You can watch our movie. But had our international premiere for the Decult Cult Awareness Conference. And it was packed, sold out. Everyone in the audience was from some religious culture, some cult, or was a physical, like a therapist, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, a cult expert, or a sect and skepticism like leader of Europe, working for the Austrian government in like mind control cults and like misinformation. It was just like, oh my God, I can't imagine a more perfect audience than who's in the room right now. But I got to thinking like how incredible it is from the experience of Decult in general that like so many different religious groups, there's like 17 or something represented there. And I spent a lot of time with people from Children of God, but also like tantric groups and um, like ISTA. I don't know if you've heard of ISTA, and like large group awareness training, like Tony Robbins. And there's all these different ways that people are seeking community, seeking, they're spending money to listen to someone talk, or having someone push their boundaries, or maybe they want to cross some boundaries, but they're like getting into these groups that like go too far or something or make them uncomfortable. Um, do you think that there's anything specific to the former Jehovah's Witness experience that like you can help people with, or is it super universal that like anyone from any group you could help?
I definitely think, no doubt, hands down, the angle and the compassion and the understanding that I can hold while dealing with and holding someone in their process. And it's a continuous process of deprogramming and healing, and then it's like, because there has to be this deprogramming and healing, and then you can open up to all the rest that is possible. So the resistance that comes up, I think I can hold it. I still am, catching myself with my own resistance. And so I have a lot, they're like, resistance is the biggest piece, and fear is a really big piece that comes up when when it's new, or when it's still not fully processed. And it took me a long time to get to where I am today. It might sound like I'm totally free, and I'm not. I think that this is a lifelong process. I know that. That's another thing that I can bring into. I remember when an older woman told me that, when I was just kind of coming out, that this is like a scar that will heal. It will heal, but you will always have a scar. I think I have a lot of compassion, and I have a lot of knowledge about the cause of that scar, the cause of this scar. I know this scar very, very well, very intimately, and I didn't shy away from it. And just like you, this specific scar from this specific cause is a trauma that I can have a lot of compassion for and hold. And yeah, and it's unique. It's not anyone, and it's not everything, and that's why there's groups for a lot of different things. There's a lot of the more specific you can get, the better. Because I end up working with people that aren't just ex-religious, recovering people and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. It's rare, but it does happen. It does come. I've broadened the scope to like seeing what is common in this trauma wound in humanity. But when it does come to me and it's specific, it's a lot easier to understand, I think, for someone who's gone through it than for someone who hasn't, and also has, can be compassionate, but it also can challenge you gently into new frames of thinking and feeling about that specific experience.
Beautiful. So we're closing in on an hour. Is there anything you want to say to wrap up?
We haven't talked about music. I want to talk about music. We've done a lot of things. We talked about healing. We've talked about retreat centers and like all sorts of things. We've talked about retreats but I want to talk about music a little bit because it's something that like your movie is about music. And it's interesting how music, like, and musicians too. And I feel like I want to say how healing music can be. Like the shamans will say, a lot of the shamans and like an old shamanic expression is if you're not feeling like yourself, you're not feeling well, you're feeling kind of down or despondent or depressed, they'll say, when was the last time that you sang? When was the last time that you told story? And when was the last time that you danced? And I think to balance all of this, it's really important to play. And that's something that I'm bringing back into my life because it's been so concentrated on healing. And now I'd be like, oh shit, like I gotta make all this material stuff happen. And I am in all of that in service, but also just joy and play and pleasure and music are really important. And so I've started a musical project as well. And it's been kind of like, I've had musical projects in the past, but I had Vibra Bomia, I think before. That was a musical project with a girlfriend, and that was really sweet. But and one that I've been doing lately, Rebecca Latiki, she was one of my musical partners, and it's been really good. And she's actually off doing a lot of beautiful things in the medicine world now. She's doing medicine music circles, and she's going off to Brazil to study that. And so I have started something with as a musical production project with my current partner. It's called Soul Tribe, and it's just so liberating. I just want to say like how liberating it is to express in that way and to just have fun with it and use music as as also a form of healing yourself. And a lot of the shutdowns, a lot of stuff can come out just like movement and just like breath work. So when you're doing music, you're breathing, and also it's a conduit to move people and motivate yourself, and to express your ideas to the world. And that's something that I'm excited about, and it's new for me in this level and to explore. And so if you want to check that out, I'll be posting more stuff that's on Bandcamp. And that's like a part of me that nobody sees, by the way, because I would share it and I'm like ready to be like, well, why not? Like I'm in my process with this, but like I'm also ready to share. So that's it. Cool. Soul Tribe. Yeah. SOL. And I actually, I'm having a great time with it. SOL Tribe, Soul Tribe. And that is, and then also, I started the sustainable clothing line because we need to be a little bit more in connection with the earth and having a good relationship with her. And so that's been something that's really fun, clothes designing, and then wrapping this all in that it's all one, like music and dance and fashion and self-expression and healing. If they're all separate, that they're all one too, just like we are.
Can you show us any of your Soul Tribe clothing? Are you wearing any of it right now?
Yes. And I mean, I'll send you a link. So if you go onto Instagram, it's Soul. Let me just come down here so you can see. This is a sustainable project. Cotton. It's all cotton.
Oh, cool.
Vegetable dyes. Yeah. And it's all hand stamped with vegetable dyes. And then I have raw bamboo that I'm working with and recycled silk saris. And I don't have them with me, but I'll send you guys a link. If you look at Soul Tribe, SOL Tribe Vibe, that's the Instagram. That's the newest Instagram for that. And so that's all up and coming as well.
I'll put it up in a second. I'm searching for it. Very cool. Are you having it made out of the US? Is that, it looks very,
it's such a beautiful fair trade project that I'm doing with a few families in India, in northern India, and 10% of the proceeds of this project go back to the Gypsy children. I felt really connected to the Cobra Gypsies, and it's in the same area that the seamstresses are working. And I had some dualities about like, is this like ethical? And actually it's like so ethical because they are really loving being able to take the ideas that I have and then bringing them to life, and that's their service. And then I go down and I have a really intimate experience with them, picking out all the fabrics and making sure that I'm there for the entire process. And then I have it sent home. And so, and then like for the saris, I go through walls and walls of saris. That's what the Indian people wear. It's silk. And it's like really hot, and I go through them all in these rooms and pick out each one, and so they're all hand selected, and they're ceremony wear. And the idea behind this is for men and women to feel like every day is a ceremony, every day is to be celebrated and to represent who you are and authentically, and develop that and express that, and as a form of divinity, because we are all divine. There's no separation. So
Kind of rock. Can you see the screen? I don't know if you can see it on your phone, but you got a rock climber. He's got pants.
yes.
You modeling. So
Yeah.
these are all your designs, or with your community that you're
No, they're all my
working
designs.
with?
Yeah, this is all
Wow.
Yatri Sol Tribe.
Yeah, this is super cool. This looks like peyote art.
Yes, and it does have some medicine, vibration. It's going to have more too, what comes out soon.
It's
Those
very
are
cool.
favorites. Those capes are so fun. Those are unisex. They're great. They're organic, raw cotton as well.
I need that.
Yeah. So if that's,
Was he also a Misfits fan? He's got a Misfits tattoo, but he's like
he
looking.
is, and he is
I
the
love it.
Sequoia Soul. He's my
Cool.
partner in the musical production as well. He's the
cool.
one that's heading a lot of the Soul Tribe musical production. So look us up on Bandcamp, and I think.
Oh, really? He's in the band?
Yeah, he is. He's like,
very cool.
He's the main producer. I'm doing some of the vocals and support, but he is, and some of the instrumental stuff. But he's the main head behind it all. So when you do look that up, that's who you're hearing. He's the musical designer. But yeah,
This is really cute. This looks like mung. I don't know if you know the mung, black mung. It looks like a hemp-based plant material dyed in indigo that they use. What is that? Cotton?
Yeah. Yes, it is cotton, and it's a wrap.
Okay.
Yep, that's a wrap.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and this? What's this?
This is the recycled
batik?
silk sari. It's a recycled silk sari, like cascade skirt. Yeah, like a waterfall skirt. And what was I going to say about it? Yeah, that's silk.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about your logo. I was so curious about what you did with this logo.
Yeah,
Your jewelry there.
He sent me a whole audio like dissecting it. He's like, "You have this. It's so Scott." I'll tell you, I channeled the logo. I didn't, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want this and I want that. I was like, okay, I definitely see the Zia and the 7 directions. It looks like 4, but to me, it's like 7, as within, so without, as above, so below. And then the cardinal directions, like that's important. It's like all are one, but also like having orientation. And some, New Mexico, I bought some land in New Mexico to build. So it's got the New Mexico thing. And then it has an eclipse. It has the Kundalini snake. Kundalini was a huge awakening. I work with Kundalini when I do retreats and stuff, and Kundalini just like woke me up. That's another one of those breath work and movement.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need in yoga. You don't need psychedelics. It's like it is a psychedelic, just a form of yoga. So yeah. So inviting all of that into the field, so that those that feel resonance, and I overall, I think that those are all shapes that are really old and ancient and awaken something within us if we see them. And to me, it's like, it's about that. It's as above, so below, as within, so without. That's really what that means. And that's a Hermetic principle of knowing yourself and knowing our relationship with the all of everything and the world, and our origin story, the sky and the earth, and our middle plane of existence here on it. And I guess that's what it represents to me. What's
that snake? He's looking at a star. Does that have a specific thing? What's that star about?
Your North Star. So it's like, as you're coming up and you're coming out, we're shedding layers. We're coming up in to consciousness, and that star is when you're awake and you see who you are and you see your purpose and you know what you're here to do, and you can follow that North Star. In astrology, we do your chart. You find out what your North Star is. We all have one, and we all, most of the time, we know it, but we haven't been told it. It's like this knowing, but sometimes we need to hear it and have words put to it. So or we get older and it becomes more clear and evident, or it doesn't, and we're out of alignment. And that's about letting the shedding and coming up the chakra layers. And that's the energy centers, like working through and shedding the things that we need to shed, so that we can awaken and see it and hear it and feel it and know who we are and what we're here to do, and be able to act in harmony with making choices that are in alignment with that so that we are happy and living our highest versions of ourselves.
What's the deal with the Ohura Mazda wings?
Because that creates freedom. And it's also, it's like the prophecy of the snake and the bird. And it's a very old representation of the reptilian creatures representing earthen beings coming from underneath the earth or very close to the earth, and being like, that's like representing the material world and like our bodies and getting to know who we are on a very sensuous level, and also the spiritual level. And the wings represent the spirit, and it's having a relationship with both. It's not bypassing. To me, it means not bypassing any of it, not bypassing a relationship with your body in order to find spiritual connection, but it's also not staying so grounded and so in the earthly aspects of things like money and our, sensuality and like feeding ourselves, that we forget to open and spread our wings.
Beautiful. There's a lot going on in that logo. I like what you've done there.
Thank you.
So here is your website I pulled up. And the very first thing is a beautiful picture of you with a lantern in one of your incredible outfits. But
Thanks, God.
Sign up for a free 3-card tarot consultation.
Yes.
I was actually thinking before this, do you have time or a deck with you right now that you could like do a 1-card reading? Or should people just sign up and go for it?
I don't have one. I don't have one with me because I left the house. Otherwise, I have one on my, it's like if we were at home where I have like my fur, my black fur, and then I have my tarot on my chest at all times, all the time. And I'd be happy to, but maybe that's something that we can do in the future.
So we just had a little look at your, we talked a little bit about astrology, about your yoga. You're a tarot reader. She's awesome at this, by the way. I paid for this service. It's great. And you can get a free one. Like really helped me get through some stuff. And it's like, I feel like most people don't understand what tarot is, or it just sounds like crystal, mystic, psychic, like shop that like most people never enter, right? You like that's all associated with the same thing. For me, I had a couple of friends do it with me, you being one of those people. And then to the point that I was like, this is highly valuable. Like I need to tap into this sometimes. Basically, I feel like it's like, it doesn't, I don't know if there's something to it other than like we're taking time and space out of my life to like assess what's going on in my life. I have a question or a problem, and then, okay, let's do a thing. So we sit together, put a card, and there's like so much deep symbolism. And it's like, how does that relate to my situation, this question that I have, or this problem that I have? Okay. And it's like working through, like, it's like inner wisdom is getting tapped into through this like symbolism. And then it's like, okay, well, I could do that anytime on my own. I could actually sit and assess the situation, but setting the time and like having like very deep symbolism to attach to your situation, it's like you really deeply process in a way that like I don't really experience with other modes.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
100%. I think tarot is a great place to start. I think what I have come up with what tarot is a way to tap into the collective consciousness and like, and to tap into your consciousness and the truth. And sometimes we get, we have our field of vision, we have our blinders on, we have our perspective, and that's totally natural. And so it's really healthy to do tarot. I do tarot for myself about everything all the time now. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, what? Like, I can't, how can I not see that? Like, and then it's always true. It's always right. So it does work when you do it for yourself, if you train yourself to understand the symbolism. And the reason that the symbolism is important and actually training yourself in that way with the literal tarot. We're not talking about oracles. And there's a difference, and I'm happy to talk about that if anyone has questions later. But a tarot deck, the tarot is a very ancient form of knowledge that had to be hidden. It's occult knowledge that was basically from the priest and priestess groups, I believe, that hermetic knowledge that was in danger and got hidden through it's basically, I want to be clear about when I say spiritual steps, because I know that can be triggering. It's principles, universal principles, archetypes, universal principles in archetypes. This is like a really great way to lean into understanding some of these mystical things when you are triggered religiously. Is like, look at archetypes, look at universal principles, instead of looking at things, and those have common themes, commonologies in many different lines of spirituality. And when it comes to tarot, it's actually, I feel like it's very literal. It's like it was put into the form of a game in these cards, but what it is like extremely powerful ancient knowledge through, like you said, through symbolism that has been passed on to us all the way going back to Egypt. And I think tapping into that is extremely valuable. And I think it's a really safe way to start, because it's a good way to like put faith in. And one of my favorite things to do is to give people their first tarot reading, so that you can just feel safe, and it just can be like a general reading, and then go from there if you have questions. But just to develop a relationship of confidence to channeling the collective consciousness of spirit. Spirit can talk to you. It's always talking to you, but tarot is like a really obvious one. You can't deny it.
It's always talking to you. Are you listening? And if it's talking to you, is that like, are those your thoughts, or is that something else?
Well,
I always wonder.
It's important to distinguish, and that's why it's like sometimes hard to do when you do readings for yourself. It's nice to have someone else do it for you sometimes when you're having trouble trusting yourself, if you can distinguish it or not. So what I was going to say though is we need to develop a relationship of trust to ourselves and to spirit. And I think a big part of my journey has been distinguishing. There's a lot of energies talking at you all the time, even in your own body, brain, mind, and our environment is talking to us, and our friends, our family, and our head talks to us the most. And I think it's really important to be able to learn who to listen to and what to listen to, and that's a big part of like being connected to yourself and knowing yourself, and knowing and having a relationship to spirit, and acknowledging that it's all around you all the time. And tarot is just a form of showing us that directly, but people have used different things as oracles and interpretation of oracles when you can get out of your own way. That's like essentially what shamanism is using earth and elements that you trust yourself as a conduit to read. It can be sticks, to read the sticks when you ask a question, and trusting that this question will be answered from your higher self and ancestors. And there's a lot there, but really what I want to say is that spirit's trying to talk to us all the time, like healthy spirit, your spirit is trying to talk to you all the time, and we just have to listen. Your higher self, if it's easier, or like benevolent guides, and learning to trust and listen to them, and like learn who not to listen to, which is like our negative self-talk. And if there's anything else and anyone else that is trying to access our consciousness, to learn to block that out. And that's what actually I started studying psychic work, psychic tools, because I needed to do that, and I wanted to trust it. I wanted to trust myself and hear myself more, and trust spirit more. And it's very pragmatic when you get into that school, those schools, as they start to teach you how to block energy that is unhelpful within yourself and in your environment, and to be a clearer, stronger channel for what is actually your own spirit and your guides. Yeah.
There's a lot to learn. I feel like you're a great like introductory person for someone to tap into. So I put up on their website, you're asking for name, email, and a message, or you can just give your email and you get you can access the free 3-card tarot reading. So go to yatrisol.com for that, and then just the Instagram. I'll put the links in the description after the video is over. Let's see.
Thank you, Scott.
Where it was called. Oh, Yatri is Soul Tribe. Is that at Soul Tribe Vibe for Instagram?
Yes.
So
And
that's
then
where
my
we saw all the.
Instagram that has the retreats and stuff is my personal interest Instagram that is gonna you're gonna see like the spiritual offerings is Yatri Sol at Yatri Sol. I think there's a hyphen in there. Dash. It says art, astrology, and yoga. That's me. So yeah, follow me there, and I'd love to follow you back and connect for anybody who's here and see what you're all up to. And going to Mexico soon, so you can follow the journey there. We're going to bring it out and expand and see about land out there, and bring the whole thing, the music, the clothes, and the spiritual aspects as well, and learn and play and grow and collab. So if you're out that way, let me know. I'm always open to meet up in person as well, or in Sedona.
Mexico, which part?
Oaxaca, Mazunte.
Oaxaca. Okay. Mazunte. Okay. Famous spot. Very cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, so Lisa, she said she had to go. She said, I was lovely listening and chatting. She loves your energy. You're like her daughter who also does tarot. Love from New Zealand.
So, so good. I love
were
it.
enjoying. Yeah. Absolutely enjoyed the chat. And I hope everybody goes and checks out yatrisol.com and connects. She's doing great things, and this is a great way if you're interested in any of these things to have a touch person to talk to.
Thank you.
Great place to explore, and we're gonna all go to your retreat one day.
Yes, and the retreat center. Let's call it into form. Open to all the ideas and all the support, grants, whatever, to manifest this in the form of service.
So obviously you're going to serve, but there's usually a cost to that. But is there people, if they resonate with this idea, that want to work with you or want to help fund it, or like how, or someone has land somewhere, like how can people tap in to like help support you to do what you are discussing?
Well, I would love to talk about it, first of all. So if anyone has any ideas or any offerings, I would love to just talk with them personally about it over the phone or email. So reach out to me if any of this resonates with you and that strikes any kind of ideas of ways that you could collaborate. I am open to receive, and I just know that this is for the greater good of all. So yeah, just reach out to me via email, my website, Instagram, or phone. And let's talk.
Cool. All right. Thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you, Yatri, for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's been the biggest pleasure.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for listening.